Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I remain a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. Today, I am talking to Brittany Bliss and Reid Gibbons. They are a husband and wife band from Chico, California. That's Chico, California. Their band is called Brittany and the Blisstones. Yeah, that's our guest today on... You will find that Reid has an excellent radio voice that works beautifully for podcasts, and they have lots of interesting stories to tell, including one that involves me. Let's get to it.
Hey there, Brittany and Reid. Reid and Brittany, how are you today?
We're hot, but we're good. It's going to be 111 degrees here where we live.
Oh dear me, is Chico on fire at the moment?
No, thankfully not. Just flames from the sun.
It is a California thing for there to sometimes be fires I see on the news. So.
Oh yes, but thankfully none near us at the moment. But we're definitely inside with the air conditioning for the rest of the day.
Well, yeah, that's awful. Is Chico a small town? Because given its name, I would think it should be.
Well, it's it is pretty small. It's about 110,000 people, but we're very fortunate because it is a college town only about 3 hours away from San Francisco. It gets on the circuit, so we get a lot of acts coming through here, and we actually have a pretty vibrant music scene here. So it's not a bad place to be stuck for two musicians. Right, Reid?
Indeed. I was very shocked when I moved here. The size of the art community in a town this size, I was just not expecting that, but it's pretty nice.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I like talking to musicians that are happy with their art communities because it makes the business is hard enough as it is. So having a supportive community behind you makes it a little less difficult to manage, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we found the same thing in Austin, right? I think more or less musicians are generally happy to help each other. And so having a vibrant community of people willing to help out is just a whole lot better when there's more of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to go chronological order backwards. I'm going to tell a story in reverse. It might not work, but it worked in my head. So
it worked in Memento.
It did work in Memento. What a weird yet brilliant film that was, right?
No kidding.
I met you both on Friday, August 26th at the C Baby DIY Musician Conference in Austin, Texas. Instead of me telling that story, how about you tell that story? How did you stumble upon me?
Well, a mutual friend, new friend to us, I had seen Gail playing in the jam room on a bass, and I forgot to introduce myself to her, and we knew we were playing at the artist showcase at Empire, and there's just me on ukulele and Reid on drums. And so normally we do play with a full band, guitarist, bassist, and sometimes keyboard. And so I was kind of looking for Gail at the open mic, and I was describing her to Reid, and I was like, just be on the lookout. And when I went up to her, she said, yeah, I can play bass for kids. It's like my fourth instrument. And she turned around and pointed at you, Mike, and said, but Mike is a bassist. And so I just, in my usual not shy manner, was like, hi, I'm Brittany. Do you want to play music with us tomorrow? And you said yes.
Yeah. Congratulations on not being shy. I think a lot of musicians have a hard time talking to people at a conference, even though we all know we're supposed to talk to people there. Sometimes it can be hard to make yourself go talk to a stranger. But I mean, we're all independent musicians. We have something in common from the get-go, right?
Exactly.
That's true, but I can sympathize. I try to delegate as much talking to other humans as is necessary to Brittany because she likes it and is good at it, and I am less so. That's why she stands on the front of the stage with the microphone, and I am sitting down in the back behind a wall of equipment.
We managed to play 3 of your songs the next night on Saturday at the showcase. By the way, congratulations for being selected for that. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
But that almost didn't happen. Why did that almost not happen?
Well, in typical miscommunication style that can happen when you do everything over email, I thought, based off of some stage plots that were sent to us prior, it looked like there was going to be a full backline, with the drum kit as well as a bass that they were just going to have at Empire. And, I had sent you our chord sheets and our Spotify links, and, we were texting back and forth, and you were getting so excited. And then I found out at soundcheck, oh, there's no bass, and CD Baby's not going to be bringing the bass that was at open mic over. And so then everything changed to, all right, we're just going to be looking for somebody with a bass. And I couldn't find anybody until about 20 minutes before our set. You can take it from here, Reid, because you did this part.
Yeah, well, first, I'd like that to sink in for anybody in the audience who is a musician. Imagine under the impression that your entire setup is backlined. You travel to another state without your stuff in full confidence that the backline will be there. And then you show up to sound check and find out it is not. That is not fun. Me and Brittany will play, restaurants or stuff, just the two of us. So we certainly could, play the show, and it would have been fine and it would have been fun. But, we met at an open mic, and that particular open mic was very well known for just jamming with people you've never played with before. Not all open mics are that way, but this one kind of was. One of our favorite stories actually was very early in our relationship. Brittany got up and, started playing a progression on her ukulele. It was just a little ditty. There wasn't any lyrics or anything. And I joined her on drums. And there just happened to be a cypher crew in the audience who were going to go on later. But one of them decided what we were playing was cool enough that they just had to get up and start rapping over it. And so that person did. The rest of the cypher crew noticed. So they all got up on stage. Other rappers who were just in the audience also got up on stage. So everybody's just passing the microphone around. And we just played the same progression for like 15 straight minutes. And it was so cool. It was very, very fun. And we got done and, finally shut the song down because it wasn't going to stop if we didn't stop it. But we finished it and we got off stage. And I just remember Brittany looking at me and she was like, oh my God, that was so fun. I've never had that happen before. And I'm like, yeah, that was really awesome. By the way, you're bleeding. And she looks down and she had strummed so hard on the ukulele that she actually broke open one of her fingers. And that was her...
my Iggy Pop hip hop moment.
Yeah. So anyway,
pretty rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly. I love that story. But to get back to the story we were trying to tell before that digression. So when we found out that we were selected and only the two of us were going to be there from the band, we were immediately like, it's full of musicians. We got to find some people to play with us and kind of recapture that, let's all just get up and have fun, whether it's a disaster or whether it's a beautiful thing. It's just going to be fun either way. So let's try to work that out. So that was the plan, and we found you, and that was fantastic. But to bring us back to the story, there's no bass. And at the venue, they were alternating between two stages, so there was no break in music while they could do the setup on the other stage. And on the outside stage at the time was this fantastic punk band, all-female punk band that were just killing it. I mean, in proper punk style. The bassist was climbing up on the bass drum and jumping off of it like they had it going on. But they were to wrap up, and then inside was a singer, songwriter playing the piano was going on, and then we were next. So we were like 20 minutes away from supposed to take the stage. And we had tried everybody else that we could think of. We, had locals who were reaching out to friends that they knew that had basses. Like, this was an all call. Can we get a bass in here? And now we're 20 minutes to showtime and there's nothing there. So our last chance is this all female punk band, and they rap, finish their last song and start packing up. And I go up to the stage and just, ask the woman, hey, you guys were dope. That was awesome. Weird question. Can we borrow your bass? And she's like, yeah, just give me your phone number. So we hand her a business card so she knows how to get a hold of us so we don't walk off with her bass. And she's like, there's only one problem. I broke the strap peg on the bottom of the bass. So you can borrow it, but you're going to have to sit down and play it. I'm like, cool, whatever. That's all we got. And so that was it. 20 minutes before, we're down to the wire. We have one shot left, and it worked out because somebody who never met us from I don't know where just finished playing a really great set and was just like, absolutely take this. I don't know what kind of bass it was, but they're not cheap. Have this several $100 to $1,000 thing, and just handed it to us. And that was really, really cool. Of course, we didn't realize at the time, but you found out rather quickly, Mike, was that I think they had either a full half step or a full step tuned down on all of their instruments.
Oh, it was way flat. It would have been nice if I'd have known that. Then I would have just, not bothered and just transposed everything. But I figured it out by I was on the third string. I'm like, oh, these have all been a whole step in. I'm like, that would be nice. So I'm going to show this band some love because when we first walked in, they were up there covering a Mudhoney song from the late 80s, and none of these young ladies were alive when that song was out. And, I mean, there's a whole lot of punk bands out there that they could have chosen, and that is not one that I was expecting to hear some really, really young folks playing. So that band is from Austin, Texas, and they are called Die Spitz, D-I-E space S-P-I-T-Z. I believe I'm spelling that right. And the very friendly young bass player is Kate, and it was Kate's bass, which was, I mean, that was a big dude. It was really diminutive on me. But it worked, and I got to play your songs. And also, you guys had Eva, the very lovely piano player that was on before you, Eva Gertz, play the songs as well. How much notice did Eva have?
So we met her at soundcheck 3 hours prior. So we had met you a full 24 hours prior to meeting Eva. So we were like, old time friends compared to meeting Eva. And I just fell in love with her set. And, there was a little bit of talk of like, oh, well, if we can't find a bass, then maybe Eva could play. But then, what didn't take very, very long into Eva's first song where I said, oh, let's just hand her the chord sheets and see if she'll just join in anyway. And she said yes. She had, unlike you, she had not even heard the songs, but we had printed out chord sheets, and she's Berklee School of Music trained, so it was not an issue for her at all. And I really loved the energy and vibe that she brought on the keys, and she changed into electric piano for Mermaid, which was so yummy that she did that because it fits so well with that third song we did. But I did just want to back up for 1 second and say that I wish somebody had taken a picture of my face when Reid walked into the back room where we were, Mike, with the bass in hand. It's like that emoji with like the stars for eyes. I don't know, something like that. I was so excited that worked out. So yeah, Eva had 5 minutes notice, 5 to 20 minutes notice, depending on.
Yeah, and I probably could have given her a little bit more of a heads up because I just kind of forget that the second song we played, Serenity, we drop into a little 6/8 thing in the middle of that. And
you totally do. And I noticed it right away on my first listen.
Yeah, we could have warned her. I just handed her their chord sheets. They're just chords over lyrics is what they are. So it's not, there's no time signatures. There's no BPM. There's none of that stuff. But just handed it to her and she's like, yeah, well, we'll figure it out. If I can't figure out what to play, I won't play anything, kind of what you said. And I was like, yeah, there's a few stops in some of the songs, but I'll make it as obvious as I can. And completely forgot to warn her that we're going to go from 4/4 to 6/8 in the middle of one song with like no warning. So good luck. But we did okay. We made it through.
We did more than okay at the end of our set. Rachel, I think her last name is Maxon. She has some beautiful music. She yelled out, "Be a band!" So people really responded well. Kevin, the SVP of Artist Services at CD Baby, was in the room and talked to me afterwards and just said how wonderful it was to see the room keep getting more and more people. We kept we kept pulling people in during our set, and I think a big reason of that was that we had you and Eva help filling out the sound and helping us with that. So it was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, if there's anything that you want behind a ukulele, it's a bass.
Oh yeah,
you really want to fill out those frequencies, and my God, are we glad you were there.
It was fun, and especially since I got the chance to listen to your songs first, I understood why you needed a bass so badly. It's not like you can't, like you said earlier, it's not like you can't do those songs without it. But man, some of those bass lines on your stuff are mighty tasty, and they bring a lot of movement. And after I was listening to the songs, I was like, man, I wish they brought a violinist too, because you was one of those sometimes. I feel like I watched a live performance that you had a violinist, and it was great.
Oh yeah, yep. She's incredible. She doesn't live near us, but we would love to. We would love to have, just like a full Elvis thing with just a stage full of string section, horn section, all the other instruments. That's our dream to eventually have. We do play with a horn player sometimes here locally who's just incredible, but he's also in multiple bands and in very high demand. So there's plenty of shows he can't make it to, but yeah, I mean, just the experience of meeting you and then 24 hours later being on stage was really great.
That's something I'm never gonna forget, and I mean that's one of those things that makes all the effort that we put into music worth it. Because I just like to play, and I know all the musicians who are listening are just nodding. Right? We just like to play. And especially if you're playing music that you believe in, and folks, Brittany and the Blisstones, their songs are good, so it was fun to play them. And was it a little nerve-wracking? Yes, and I'm glad I didn't know at the time that Kevin Bruner was in the room, because I might have been even more nervous, but that was a lot of fun. I will definitely never forget it. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, it's a peak experience for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's one of the jokes we have when we talk to people when we're booking shows. It's, we don't charge anything to play music, but we do charge as much as we can to move our music equipment in and out. That's what you're paying for.
Let's talk about La La Love You. Not La La Love You, La La Love. When did this 5-song EP get released?
So we started releasing it in February of this year of 2022. We released Mermaid first, then sometimes a month later, and then La La Love, the title track, in April. And then in May, on May 13th, we released all 5 songs. And that was also the day we were having a very large wedding celebration. And I just want to put it out there for any musical couples: don't do that. Don't do it. It was
Don't hold your wedding reception and your album release party on the same day at the same venue back to back.
Yeah, it was too much.
You think it's a good idea 9 months prior when you booked the venue, or realized because we work with a PR agency to do the release, and so they helped us lay out the calendar, and we're like, wow, so the album's supposed to fully release really close to the day that we have our wedding reception. We could save money and use the same venue. It sounds like a good idea. It's not.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, the songs were, Mermaid and La La Love were older songs. Reid and I met in December of 2017 at an open mic, as he mentioned earlier, and just kind of were collecting ditties and odd little song things that we thought were cool little progressions. But I did La La Love was a song I wrote like in 20 minutes, and it pretty much hasn't changed. There's a bridge that has changed, but that has pretty much stayed the same for 4 years now. And La La Love definitely went through some revisions lyrically, and then with a fun bridge section that got added later. But the other 3 songs were all written during lockdown. And we had taken a songwriting class from Ryan Tedder, ironically.
On how to write pop music that you can sell to pop artists.
Yep, but it worked for us because it just kind of got us, more comfortable with co-writing and working on concepts together. And during the peak of lockdown, we wrote and finished 3 songs, dusted off La La Love and Mermaid, and basically nobody was doing anything live at this point. Everything was shut down, and so we went to Fiverr and got musicians from all over the world, with the exception of the bass on the album. That is our bassist, Tito, who's an amazing solo act as well called Thunderlump. Reid does drums for him as well. But everything else on that album is like Italian flautist and Russian viola player and somebody from a country I can't, Macedonia. Yeah, which doesn't even sound like a real country. No offense to any Macedonians listening. It does sound like a real country, but I just hadn't heard of it that much. So yeah, that's a little bit about La La Love.
Yeah, if you need a bass clarinetist and you don't know one,
Fiverr.
Go to Fiverr, because you're going to get, the person who plays in their the National Philharmonic Orchestra, who just wants some couple bucks on the side. So for the low price, I think I want to say it was like $25 or $30 is what we paid for that part.
Global economy working in your favor.
Yeah. This did present another problem though, which was now we have King Fear is one of the songs that we wrote during lockdown, and it's on this album. It's on all streaming platforms for anybody who wants to go. But any musicians amongst you, if you listen, there's a lot of instruments in that song. That whole song is basically one big crescendo. And one of the ways that it crescendos is by, adding additional instruments. When lockdown started to lift and we were able to go play live again, we now have all of these songs that were written. And we don't have a band anymore. We have our bass player, but the rest of the people we had to kind of find and put back together and rebuild this band up, and then figure out how we're going to perform these songs live. So the live versions of these songs sound different than the album versions, if for no other reason than
we don't have a flautist yet.
Right. But we do have this amazing guitar player now. He's probably the newest member of the band. But he went to school for it. He's classically trained in guitar, but also plays any other genre. But he likes to write interesting parts, stuff that I never would have thought of, and that brings a whole different layer and a whole different vibe to the songs when we play them live. So it's really fun, because even in the songwriting process, as the song reveals to you what it wants to be, and when you learn to get out of its way and give it what it wants, it becomes a better song. But I think it was St. Vincent who said, songs are never done. You just eventually release them. And that really rings true with us, because these songs are still changing and evolving in our live performances.
What kind of, you just came back from the CD Baby conference. What kind of education did you take from that experience that is going to help you in your career going forward?
Well,
this could be a longer sort of an answer if you wish.
Yes, yeah. For me, there were a lot of practical and tactical things that are, particularly around, some things that came up for me around what to do about TikTok, because, we are a married couple that are in a band together and write music together. And there are a lot of funny things that come out of that. And I was like, that might be, when I attended the TikTok session, I was like, that could be a great avenue to share some of those, kind of reenactment of a funny moment that happens, and also some lessons along the way. And there were other things. I attended the having a day job by the pianist, and also being a musician, and that was really wonderful with a lot of mindset stuff. But for me, walking away from that event, I think one of the biggest takeaways was just that reminder that, you can get lost in the metrics, number of streams, number of followers, and none of that really means anything at the end of the day if you've forgotten your own why. And Kevin Bruner told the story about his band doing a house concert, and this guy requesting a song that, if you just look at the metrics out of their, I don't know, something like 150 songs, it doesn't even come close to what you would consider a quote success if you're just looking at the metrics and the data.
Yeah, number of streams, I think you said it's not even in the top 50.
Right. It's way down there. But this guy who hired them to come to the house concert, and it made Kevin very emotional. It makes me emotional. He told them after the concert, that song helped me through a really dark time of my life and helped me get through it. And I really resonated with that because as we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, we had a really awful, deadly fire just one town over in 2018. You probably heard of the Camp Fire in Paradise, California. And a friend of mine lost her home, lost everything. And I happened to be doing a 30-day ukulele challenge at the time, like maybe 2 or 3 months after the Camp Fire. And she told me months later, that was the one thing she had to look forward to, was to log onto her computer and see what was Brittany going to play that day. And it helped her get through that time. And just, I do remember that story often, but it was something about hearing it come from another musician that it's like, I can get so lost, right? In that, like, okay, what am I going to do to get more listens, get more followers, and all that's part of the deal. And it's not anything you shouldn't be paying attention to. But when you forget that at the end of the day, we're doing this magical thing that uplifts people, that inspires people, that, helps people party, whatever your jam is, that was something for me that like was a real turn, like a something I really am coming home and cherishing.
Yeah, for anybody listening that may not fully understand what happened with that campfire, I just want to, the fire started at 6 a.m. It was noticed shortly thereafter, sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock. By noon, so we're talking in the span of 6 hours, the entire town of Paradise was gone. By the time people knew there was a fire, to the amount of time they had to get out, it was crazy. It was one of the fastest moving fires, definitely the deadliest, I think, still in California history. And that's the town next to ours. I mean, the skies were black in the middle of the day, and the sun would shine through, and it just red. It looked like the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. It was a really, really intense time. And just to know that, Brittany playing one song and posting it every single day on social media was the one thing that gave this woman the chance to remember that there is beauty in life after losing literally everything she owned. Everything. I mean, there's a lot of power in that, and that's the greatest thing. So it's emotion, right? That's music. We're connecting with people on an emotional level. Whatever that emotion is may be different between artists, but that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what that's all about, just connecting with other people. And that's, what we got to do with you,
Mm-hmm.
Now it is time to delve into more memories of the distant past. I say distant past, but I feel like you guys are younger than me, so maybe it's not quite as far as it would be for me. What was the first song that you can remember hearing in your life?
Ooh.
The William Tell Overture.
Nice.
I don't know why this is. There is, in my house growing up, my dad was the one who controlled the radio. And according to my father, no music was made after 1959. So this was all Everly Brothers and Elvis Presley and, Fats Domino, that kind of stuff. Except for some reason, I've never asked him. It never occurred to me to ask him, but now it's occurring to me, so I need to. He had a tape in his car of the William Tell Overture. And it became a thing that every time we got in the car, we would play it. It was just part of the ceremony of getting in the car and going somewhere. And I have no earthly idea why he had that tape, because he didn't listen to anything else from that genre. Everything else was 50s rock and roll. But yeah, so that's the first song I can remember hearing.
I'm having a tough time because my parents listened to so much music, but if I had to guess, I'm going to go with The Doors. Or actually the Velvet Underground, and I was so little that I thought he was saying Carol Ann, not heroin, because I didn't know what heroin was. So I was like, oh, it's a nice song about Carol Ann. So I'm going to go with Heroin by the Velvet Underground.
That's actually, I mean, your parents give you like indie credit by listening to Velvet Underground.
Oh, yes. Big time. William Tell's Overture and Heroin. It gives you a little bit of background.
I remember the William. Yeah, one of those I remember because it was the theme song to The Lone Ranger, but I don't think I discovered the Velvet Underground until I was like 19 or 20.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and my mom was really big into Motown, and then my dad was really big into anybody that played at Woodstock and beyond. So I grew up with quite an eclectic soundtrack, which was wonderful.
You also grew up with a lot of really good bassists.
Yes, indeed.
I was, of course, thinking of Saint James Jamerson, page from Saint of the Four Strings, who played on just about all of Motown stuff.
Yeah.
All right. One more standard question I ask pretty much everybody is, what did your childhood smell like? I stole that from a friend, so it's not my question.
Chocolate chip cookies.
Crunchy or soft?
Chocolate chip cookies is what it smelled like. Was that the question? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, but he wants to know if it was the texture, crunchy or soft.
Yeah, I'm going beyond the smell.
Oh, I see.
Now we're into textures.
We are. The texture of my childhood was crunchy. I love my mother, and she baked a lot, but tended to be very dry in whatever it is that she would make. So, but there was always chocolate chip cookies.
Sounds wonderful.
I'm thinking this isn't a family friendly podcast, right? I can be real up in here.
You can be real. It is a PG podcast, so say what you want, and I'll just edit it later if I have to.
Okay, well, my childhood smelled like marijuana.
Oh, that's not cursing. That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, in your state, it is perfectly legal to consume marijuana in public.
This is correct. Today. Yep.
Whereas in my state, it is not.
Yeah, it's
one of the adjustments I have to make when I go to LA. And you can't be a musician and not know what weed smells like. But I'm not used to seeing people wandering around public smoking blunts.
Oh my goodness! I went to New York in June. New York City, and Times Square is just a giant hot box now. It's kind of disturbing. Like, you know, when people are drinking in the streets, that also brings up challenges, but it's such a strong smell. I mean, I grew up, I was born in 1977, so I don't know if you're younger than me or older than me, but, you know, that stuff was a lot weaker when my dad was smoking it when I was a kid. And Nancy Reagan was going on, and I had a big crisis of faith. I was like, wait, but she's saying just say no, but my dad says yes. What should I do?
Just say maybe.
I also was born in 1977, and I totally remember the Dare shirts in elementary school and all of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a thing.
It was a thing, depending on which circles you're in. What's your cat's name?
Well, we have two. The one you're hearing, her name is Shadow, but because of my children, she thinks her name is Dew, as in Scooby-Doo, that kind of Dew. So she responds to Dew. And Brittany also has a cat.
My cat is a music lover, and we'll sit as close to. Sometimes we have rehearsal down in our studio that Reid built a studio in our apartment garage, which is pretty incredible. We have full drum kit down there, but if it's going to be a smaller practice, he'll just be on cajon up here in the apartment. And my cat, I swear, she will get as close to the musicians as possible and just sit there and purr. And Reid's cat is total. In fact, if we want to get her out of the room, all you have to do is strum a guitar and she's gone, which we might do in a second here if she doesn't shut up.
I love cats, and I don't have one because my wife's allergic. But I find the personality differences between them fascinating. This is a question I hate getting when I get interviewed, and so I am passing along the misery of this question to you.
Oh, thank you.
Because I find it amusing. Well, I just think it's cliche and boring to ask, but so many people ask it. It is, so, Brittany and the Blisstones, what's next for you?
Oh, that's not as horrible as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's just really cliche.
Right.
I was afraid it was going to be, what are your influences? Because that one always floors me. Like, how long do you have?
Right.
We've got.
I mean, you can go ahead and answer that one because I like that question. So let's answer them both. Now, you brought it up on yourself, Reid.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So what's next for us is to, one of the things I did learn about a little bit more is we would like to do more live streaming. So that's something we're going to be working on this fall, is kind of getting on a regular pattern of that, of, going live and even maybe using some of the new YouTube functionality to bring folks that aren't, folks like yourself even to, jam with us or make music and just, be part of the virtual world that's not going away anytime soon. One of those, silver linings from COVID, connecting with musicians, more globally. We do want to also work on and finish our second album. We've got some songs already lined up and some songs to finish in for that. That'll probably come out next year. And I think the other, I'll speak about my influences really quick. We already talked about Velvet Underground and the Doors and Motown. And then I discovered Billie Holiday in my late teens and just absolutely, I don't know, there's something about, I just spent like a whole year just coming home from work as a waitress, 18, 19 years old, putting on Billie Holiday like every night. I just seeped myself in her, and I do cover Georgia on my mind, and I can hear those influences, and then I'm just one of those really eclectic people who, if you open my Spotify, I've got Wu-Tang and I've got Enya and I've got everybody in between. So there's a lot of different things that make up my musical influence. Ani DeFranco's a huge one as well for me.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yep, basically a lot of different types of music influence me.
Yeah, her Spotify makes no sense at all. I never know how to answer what my influences are. Left to my own devices for enjoyment purposes only, I tend to listen to pretty heavy music, and I think that's because that's the genre that has the most interesting drum things happening. And there is certainly something about taste. I always do what the song wants, and sometimes the song doesn't want interesting drums. Sometimes the right thing to do is just the bass drum on one, then that's the right thing to do, and so that's fine. But being a drummer, I like to listen to music that has interesting drums. So I don't know how much of an influence I would say that is, because that's not the kind of music we play. Certainly it seeps in places. And typically in my head, when a song idea starts forming, it's usually in it could be in metal, it could be in post-hardcore, but that's the kind of stuff that shows up into my head. And then I try to translate the ideas that I hear from that into a sound that's more something like what we do. And that's not 100% of the time, but so, it's just got to be stuff in there. But yeah, If you're a musician and you haven't heard of Thank You Scientists, check them out. They're super fun.
Where can people find you other than Brittany and the Blisstones.com?
We have a YouTube of the same name. We're on Instagram, Brittany and the Blisstones, Facebook, Brittany and the Blisstones. There will be some very fun and interesting TikToks coming at Brittany and the Blisstones on TikTok. And then, of course, all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Play, or Apple Music, and, Deezer and all the...
Wherever that is.
Yep. I think there's like...
Deezer is based in France.
Oh, well, good. We need to run some ads to our French audience and see if we can get some Deezer listeners, I guess.
Yep.
We do keep the website up to date. We're a website first kind of a organization, so all of our social links are right at the top. So BrittanyandtheBlisstones.com is the best place to go, and you'll find whatever you're looking to get to from there.
Yep.
I will link to it in the show notes, and I'll probably also link to that video from Mermaid because that was a fun watch.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that Gail pointed you in my direction on that fateful Friday in a dark room surrounded by hundreds of people.
Shout out to Gail.
Indeed. Yeah, it was so much fun. I can't wait. I think we're going next year. I don't know if you're going next year, but...
we got to get the band.
I am absolutely going next year. They have not announced where it's going to be yet, because I'm sure they're not, they probably are taking a break after this one, and maybe they'll get to planning. I hope Cleveland, for selfish reasons, is across the state. But also, can you imagine a conference field trip to the Rock Hall of Fame? I'd be cool with that.
Oh,
that would not hurt my feelings.
That would be awesome.
Well, I just think there's going to be a little bit more back channel collusion before we all go to this next one, because
yes.
I propose that if any of us get selected, we have a backing band.
Yep.
I'm in. The thing about not being selected, I didn't have to figure out how I was going to get my bass to Texas. I mean, I would like to have been selected, and ultimately I was selected by you. But
yes.
yeah. That's the moving bass is kind of a pain in the butt when you're flying,
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, and it really depends on what airline you're on, because some of them are a little more friendly and you can bring it and carry on and they put it in a closet, and others look at you and they're like, there's no way, you have to check that. And that's really putting a lot of trust in your case and the airlines to check your guitar into the belly of the beast.
Thank you so much.
This was awesome.
For having
Thank you for taking the time.
Once again, I'd like to thank Brittany and Reid. Together, they are Brittany and the Blisstones. It was amazing to meet them. It was a wonderful experience to play their songs. It's just really kind of hard to describe how cool it is, and I thank them for taking the time to come on the podcast. Hey, folks, when you get done listening to this episode of the You Could Be My Aramis podcast, I strongly recommend that you check out the music released by Brittany and the Blisstones. You can start with that EP, La La Love. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.